word, like in nature, we're going to talk now about a fruit, and it has in its center a nut, a kernel, a core, a center. I mean, so many words for this thing, but its seed is in its center, okay? And it has an outer husk, okay? This is a huge biblical principle that's carried all the way through. The outer shell and the husk refers to the body, okay? It's a covering, okay? It is, to get down to this truth, it's the garment. When the Bible talks about, and God even clothes himself in garments of light and garments, it's a covering. And I was going to bring it, my stacking eggs, because the whole idea is that you always have something, the DNA of something, its core, its program, its nut, its kernel, its essence is in there. That's the seed. And then it's covered with something, usually flesh, which represents the body. Okay, that's the body of the thing. We eat okay, and then its outer thing, it's the outest layer. This is akin to the skin, right? We say that. You got a lot of fruits, you peel the skin, right? Because some of it you eat with the skin on it. Okay, these are all. The skin is really, and so when God clothed Adam and Eve with, and you can say garments, skins, leaves, an outer husk, he put skin. I mean, this is why I say the physics of this thing is unbelievable. Is Adam, primordial Adam, is light. They call him Adam of light, and he's coming down here into physicality and materiality, and finally gets down here, and he's got this soul. Remember, the life of the flesh is in the blood, inside our DNA. It's in every cell of our body. This little nut, this little kernel. That's why you can clone somebody. You can take that little, kernel, nut, seed, whatever, code out, but it is always inside, and it's clothed with a body. So that's just what we are. We have a soul inside of us. We are clothed on the outside with a body, and then our skin usually is the final layer on this thing, okay? But the skin, the garments, see, because it changed, it dies. What happened with Adam and Eve is their garments that they got mixed up with the other side, so to speak, and their programs kind of got viruses, and now the skin, and I watched this in my mom. My mom's a human being. I watched her body, her skin, everything vital about her, everything that made her body just fade away, just die. The programs, you can just shut down, the organs, things just shut down one after the other. Okay, so when a Gnostic says, yeah, the body, don't worry about the body, it's not got any great lasting, they're saying exactly what's important is what is inside the program, her soul. This is the point. Everyone has a soul, and that soul is going somewhere after it leaves its body. Everything, God doesn't lose anything. Nothing in this whole universe just kind of gets cut off and floats away into oblivion. No, God keeps track of everything, and he keeps track of all these souls. But this is important to understand this concept of, because the flip side, when we really unpack this, and this has to do with, oh my God, I learned so much, a circumcision. They're like, well, why do you circumcise? That's a kind of bizarre, in some ways, what is the meaning? What is going on? They call it the foreskin, all this stuff. And it's referring to the flesh. It's a whole analogy of you have the kernel, you have the seed. The man has a sperm, which is a seed, and then it's got these outer coverings, and you have a foreskin. You cut because we're trying to get at the soul of this thing, okay? Satan is constantly trying to get you distracted, to focus on the body which perishes, and not to think about your soul, which is going to go somewhere and is programmed to live forever to a large extent. Now, depending on, okay, so I've kind of unpacked a little bit of that. The rivers, your soul. Okay, so here, come all you who are thirsty. Here's our great prophet Isaiah speaking. Come to the waters. Now he's talking about these emanations of God. When you understand him in its deeper levels, he's not talking about, Jesus said to the woman at the well, if you knew who I was, you can eat rivers of living water, emanations. You can be full of God. You can live forever. Okay, we're talking physics. We're not just talking about intellectual little mind games here. So Isaiah said, come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters. You who have no money, come, buy and eat. In this language, you'll see a lot in the Old Testament like this. It says, come, buy wine and milk without money and without cost. Look, it's not about, you don't got to buy these waters. This is what he was telling the woman at the well. You can't buy them. They're free, but you have to come and you have to eat it. And wine represents understanding. Oil represents wisdom. That's the highest level of the sephirah. Get wisdom, get understanding. Become full of your mother, full of your father. This is part of what I did in some past teachings. I won't go into that. But then he goes, why spend money on what is not bread? Okay? Jesus said, I am the bread of life, and his body was broken. He's talking about bread. Why are you worried about bread, body? It's you're going to eat today. That's what he told the people who were following after he fed them, miraculously. He said, you're going to be hungry. If you're searching at me for your meal ticket, that's not what I'm here for and to give you. You're going to be hungry again tomorrow. That's not what we're talking about, okay? He says, listen to me and eat what is good, and your soul will delight in the richest fare. We're not talking on the level of, buying tasty little dainties. When the Bible uses this kind of literature, it's just, using food in the sense of a parabolic, trying to explain a deeper understanding, a deeper level. He says, your soul will delight in the richest of fare. What richest of fare is referring to like the greatest oil and wine, the greatest understanding, the deepest truths. God will tell you everything. This is what he says. Everything that can be known of God is out there, and he will give it to you freely if you come to him, okay? It says, give ear and come to me, hear me, and that your soul may live. So that's what we're talking about. Now the flip side, which I'm hoping to get to, and I might not be able to because it does start to unpack the flip side of Adamic would be these lower animal souls, the beasts of the field, and this word we're talking about, Enosh, okay? But let me just, in the next verse, in verse 7, he says, seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near. He is always near. He's closer than a very breath, he says, which is a thought. You're just a thought away from the glory of God. And he said, but then let the wicked forsake his way, the evil man his thoughts. Let him turn to the Lord, and he will have mercy on him, and to our God, for he will freely pardon. See, because there's programs running in your soul life. You have to understand, this is the whole point. I always tell people it's like a computer screen. There's all these programs running, and it depends on which one you click on. Which program are you running? If you're a wicked and evil person, obviously you've clicked on some programs that are producing that fruit, that soul life. And Jesus said it's for out of the heart, which is another word for your soul, come the issues of life. It's not what if you eat with clean or unclean hands, it means nothing. That's just symbolic. Wash your hands. Get rid of the filth in your heart, the unforgiveness, the hardness, the pettiness, the greed, whatever it is, okay? Just blindly, ritualistically, religiously washing your hands isn't going to accomplish anything. Wash with the rivers of living water, with God himself. He will cleanse us. He will cleanse every thought. It is possible to bring every thought captive to the mind of Christ, to this wash. So I'm just trying to get people to understand some of these deeper ways these words are used. I'm in Matthew 22, and in verse 29, it said, Jesus replied, Yahushua, the greatest rabbi that ever lived, okay? He is our master teacher. He is the Son of God. Ooh, I just ripped my Bible. Hold on a second. Okay, we're not going to do that. Jesus said, you are in error because you do not know the scriptures or the power of God. This is the point. In the scriptures, the oral Torah. Remember, he said, look at the Pharisees, they stole the keys to the kingdom. So when he's talking to the crowd, and they didn't have the deeper level understandings of what he was trying to impart with them, because their teachers were not teaching them the deeper levels and the fact that it's even there, and that's what's important, not ritualistically going, to church every Sunday and washing your hands or, kneeling up and none of this stuff. just listening to the preachers, once a week give a nice little, that's not what is going to cleanse your soul, okay? You don't know the power of God. God can do things in an instant. I have been instantaneously delivered from demonic strongholds, like boom. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. Okay. Flip side, sometimes I've had to work through them. I mean, I've had to sweat through every single thought, just sweat it out until I got deliverance. So, it's up to God how these things work. But at the resurrection, then he says, at the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage, for they will be like the angels in heaven. This is the whole point. This is like a trip verse for people. The angels in heaven. Well, this is where now we have to understand how the Bible is talking about these different realms and the angelic realm. And angels in the Bible are many times referred to as powers. Remember, we war not against powers, principalities, and we war against powers, principalities, and spiritual wickedness. Is what we're saying, against angels, archangels, and who are fallen, who are wicked, the fallen angels. I mean, really, it's just a fancy way of saying we're in a war against the fallen, the other side, okay, that is in rebellion to God and is trying to get as much of humanity on, doing their bidding, either knowingly or unknowingly on their side, okay? So when you die, you become a soul. It's your soul, okay? You're like an angel in heaven. Angels, all it means is I remember I said celestial flesh, okay? They're just entities, I don't want to use it, that are not clothed. Now they can be, and they have the Bible's full of stories about all this stuff, clothed in mortality, but they are not, that's not their primary estate. See, when Jude uses it, that's not their primary realm or dimension in which they function. They are celestial, okay? But the garments, getting back to this whole idea so let me just say this one more time, because there's another whole part of this that we have to understand as we move into explaining the word Enosh okay, I'm thinking if I can do, I can't, but the words in the Bible, there's a lot of times talks about bad shepherds. There's a lot of times it'll talk about, what do we call them? The bad shepherds, the lying prophets with their false oracles, but the Bible's always using words like artisans, especially if you study deeper into these Hebraic words than just the glossed over translations we get today. But artisans, craftsmen, archetypes, shepherds, gods, Elohims, gods, small e, principalities. These are orders. See, the artisans and the craftsmen, this is what's so interesting. There are many gods, okay, with a small e. There are many high ordered level, species, entities, emanations, artisans, craftsmen, shepherds that are out there molding, influencing, making, and creating, using, combining, parts of this whole thing. And this is what the Bible is talking about. It's not necessarily talking in its deeper level. It's not talking about a bad ruler or a despot or is going to be somebody who's got really bad soul programs running in them, full of murder and hatred and greed, and will go to any length to get what they want, okay, and will sacrifice people like nothing, huge words. Okay, that is an indication. So these are wicked craftsmen. Okay, so this is what we got to get in the Old Testament, understand sort of the level of what's going on, who's influencing whose pawn is whose pawn are you? Okay, who are you working for? Okay, now that's a whole bit of the thing. And the other thing is understanding the four elements, the four rivers. Remember, back to Genesis, the headwaters, the Raj. These are the four elements, and I have been spending umpteen years trying to unpack again the patriarch or the ancients' understanding of the elements, which say in astrophysics, I would say, are the elements, these foundational, fundamental emanation streams, forces out there, be they, light waves, sound waves, electromagnetism, these things that are huge and in everything, and kind of, it's just what's going on in the cosmos. This is the whole hidden subatomic world. And I think what's really interesting as we get deeper into this, more understanding, your eye, I can't even get into this, how the eye is so interesting, the way it inverts and converts. Oh, I can't even get into that. It's so deep. It's just very interesting. Okay, but what we have to understand, fire and air, okay, so we're not talking about a campfire. We're talking about a primordial force that is out there, that is seen and unseen, and air. These are celestial. These are talking about, like I said, remember angels? Angels live in a sphere and dimensional. They have celestial flesh. Fire, remember the angels, if you are constantly being hooked up with fire, there's all these angels that are fire angels that actually are, and they use it like, if you ever watch a campfire, it's like the licking tongues of fire, like they just, they're created and they fade, and it's just like, fire is an interesting thing because it seems to, it comes up, it exposes itself, and it goes back down. It's a very interesting element in how it looks and functions, okay? And it's saying something about its principles. These are your sayings about its innate natures. And air, breath, spirit, wind, these are, and this is all, okay, and then you flip it around. Those are the forces on high. These are the worlds on high as above. This is the world above. And I don't know if it's always meant to be, hierarchically above per se, as much as just above can have in more freedom of movement and just having greater abilities and powers and freedom to move. And okay, then you flip it around to the other side, matter, materiality. Adam, God made this Adam in his image, this original one, androgynous, male and female, okay, in one. And it was at one alpha. You've got the dalit and the water, the blood, and the blood referring to the soul life here, and the water is referring to the body. But the water is also referring to emanations. Remember, because this gets a little tricky, because I did say there is waters above. It's not for the faint of heart to try to put all this together in the mind. There's the waters above, and there's the waters below. When you're talking about the waters below, this is talking about when it says that all rivers run into the sea, into the ocean. And this is in its deepest level, referring to the Sephiroth. This is the symbols, the emanations of God, from Bina, one of the highest Sephiroths up near the mind of God, flowing all the way down here to the bottom, which is the kingdom, which is where we are, to Malchut. Okay, so I'm giving you the seraphic names, which probably don't mean anything to you unless you're kind of a little bit into it. But what I want to tell you, this is talking about God emanations that are coming from on high, emanating down into his creation, until you finally get down to the waters below and to the land. Okay, so water and earth, okay, which is matter and is corporal. Okay, Adam, this is the point, Adam was the atom of light, the original was the highest, and this is where we're going to pick up next week, okay, because I feel like it's taking a lot of backdrop to get to be able to say, to understand, unpack the usage of the word beasts of the field, because this is the point. The Bible is very clear. It uses language in Ezekiel's. This is why chariot, if you study this, they call it the Merkabah. What the vision Ezekiel has, this whole epiphany of this whole, he is sort of seeing in symbolic language, God is giving a picture of what's really going on in the whole physics and the whole world, spiritual, material, in every way. And he sees the animals that have four faces, the face of a man, the face of an eagle, the face of an ox, and the face of a lion, I believe it is, okay? So an ox, a lion, and an eagle, those are representing in the beasts. And then there's a human face. So what is this all saying? What is this picture graph really telling us, okay? So we're going to talk about the other side, because the flip with God, this is the whole point, especially when you understand the right hand of God. And then you have the left hand. You've got something going on, and that's why sort of you always get this idea of the right hand of blessing, because that's where goodness, and then you have the left hand, which is where chasing and judgment and what's going on in the left hand. And this explains evil, okay? Because what we really want to get down to is part of it is when God does away with all evil, which is where we're going, why he does it, how he does it, and to who and what is in this category, all right? So if you wanted to even Google something called the Qliphoth, Qliphoth, and like I even said, the other side, the Bible is very replete. So anyways, on all those notes, we're just kind of getting our feet wet. Don't just, whet your appetite for the deeper things of God. Life is short, life is very precious, and my mom, I just know I'll see her someday. It's a beautiful thing. If you don't have faith, I don't know, it's hard. It's got to be harder. But God, forsake you. He is closest. Your very breath, your very next thought can be a cry for help from our Creator Father, who is always there, ready to answer every prayer and heal every wound. So in that, shalom and God bless.